Hello, my name's Kristen. Welcome to my first video. I'm an illustrator and artist, and I thought I would start making process videos to show. So one of my most popular series that I make is called Animals with Food. That's basically all it is animals with food. And I thought I would like to show people how I make them, why I make them, and everything that goes into making one of these. So this painting, it's not the first in the series, it's my latest actually. It's of a devil's flower mantis with a cup of mint tea and a raspberry parfait. So how I go about these is I first choose an animal that I find interesting, and then I'll choose a drink and a dessert that I think would complement that animal's color palette and make a good aesthetically pleasing image. So I'll start with a sketch, as one does, and I don't use thumbnailing for these just because they're very simple in their design. It's just a drink, a dessert, and an animal. So I'll usually just have 3 sketch layers, and then I'll fiddle around with them until I get pretty much what I want, and then I'll do a more detailed sketch that I can paint over. This guy, I've never really drawn bugs before. I'll get into that later, but I didn't quite know what to do with him, so his sketch took me a lot longer than usual. This painting altogether took me about 12 hours, give or take, and it's condensed down to like 16 minutes. I made him very big to start off of. I shrink him down a little bit. These guys are pretty big. I think the females can get to be about like 5 inches long, which for a mantis is pretty big. They might be the largest mantis actually, and their scientific name is Mantis diabolica, which that's a great name. Anyway, so once I'm done with the sketch, I'll do a color base layer, which is just so it's easier to paint over. If you paint onto straight white, the white will show through, and you have to do more work to make it look like a solid thing, if that makes sense. So I'll just put a basic color layer down and then lock the transparency and put in the more local color of things. The mug, I didn't know what I was doing with the mug. I just kind of put down colors until I got what I liked. The mug also, you'll notice I'll have reference photos that'll pop up every once in a while. And I didn't have a reference photo for the mug because it doesn't exist. But I did want it to look like a hand-thrown mug. So I had one, like an actual mug, on the side of my computer that I was looking at. Coming up, I forgot to start my recording software for a hot minute. So there'll be a little message that pops up that says, whoops, forgot to start it. And the mint leaves and the steam will magically appear because I was not recording when I drew it. So it took me like 20 minutes to do it. So it's not a whole lot of the painting, but I'll get better at this, I swear. So anyway, I wanted this mug to look like it was a handmade mug, like something you'd pick up at a farmer's market or an art fair or something like that. And I have a mug that's like that. It looks nothing like this mug actually, but I had it as like a lighting reference. Yeah, I just looked at that on the offside, so that's why there's no picture of the mug. A lot of people don't quite understand. They do understand it, but they think it's they don't know where it comes from. They think it's, wow, this is so unique and creative, and how could you even get on this tangent of thinking putting weird animals next to food and dessert, food and drink. And to that, I just say it's just kind of who I am. It makes sense to me. And that's because I've always loved animals ever since I was a little kid. And I don't mean just cats and dogs. There's nothing wrong with cats and dogs. I love my dog. He's a good boy. But I've always loved all animals, learning about all of them, down to the creepiest crawlers up to the big cetaceans, the whales and the dolphins and whatnot. And I was fascinated with the Nova on PBS and Nature on PBS, the Kratt Brothers, the Boomafoo. Yeah, I was fascinated with it. I wanted to be a zoologist. First I wanted to study primates, specifically orangutans, and then I wanted to be a herpetologist, which means a reptile person, and go study anacondas in South America, which my mother loved. But then I took AP Bio in high school and realized that you have to dissect a lot of the animals and learn about cellular biology, and that was not my thing. So I kind of hopped off the biology train and went on to art. And I also love baking. I love making desserts for my friends and family. Drawing food is very satisfying because it's like you get to look at it, but you don't have to eat it because it's not real, if that makes sense. It doesn't. But I find drawing food's very satisfying for me, and then coffee and tea are my favorite beverages. So it's all very cohesive in my brain. It just makes sense to put these things together. And I also like to draw animals that people don't usually think about or know about, because I think there's so many cool creatures on this earth, and hardly anybody really takes the time to see them. A lot of people do. That's why biologists and David Attenborough exist. But for the average person, they don't know the devil's flower mantis. So I kind of just want to show off how cool they are and how diverse the creatures of the earth are. Bugs. I am drawing a bug, and I'm not a huge fan of bugs, to be honest. I'm sure people who are actually afraid of bugs didn't even click this video. If you are afraid of bugs and you're still here, congratulations in conquering a little bit of your fear. I am very afraid of bugs, to be honest. I know I just spent 12 hours drawing one, but they severely creep me out. My family will tell you about the time we went to a butterfly sanctuary and I had a little meltdown because butterfly wings are super pretty, but the bodies are still bugs. They're still bugs. When they fly at your face, it's a bug. And I couldn't handle that fact. And so I curled up in a little ball, but I couldn't stay still because then the butterflies would land on me. So I had to keep moving, and yet that put me in danger of a butterfly flapping into my face. It was very traumatic for little me. Butterflies still freak me out to this day, and moths. But I also find them very beautiful. I'm weirdly obsessed with moths. Just the way they look. I don't want to be near them, but I think they're very pretty to look at. And that's basically why I'm drawing this mantis, is because I think it's a fascinating creature, and it's really cool looking, and yet I don't want it close to me ever. But I think it's important to acknowledge even the creatures we don't have a super fondness for, because they still serve a purpose in this world, and they're essential. Especially bugs. Bugs, they do quite a bit within our ecosystems. And I think it's callous just to throw them off as icky or gross, and that they don't deserve the same kind of attention that the more popular animals get. And while I'm not going to be an entomologist anytime soon, I still respect them. I also wanted to touch on how I handle painting. I come from a traditional painting background. I went to art school. I have a degree in painting and drawing, a BFA. If you guys want me to talk about art school, I'm pretty sure I could do several videos on that. I was taught in traditional painting. I was self-taught in digital. And so when I got out of school, I was very sick of traditional painting. In fact, I was sick of painting in general. That's a video about art school though. But I got way more into digital painting eventually, and I found a way of painting that it takes advantage of digital in that you can have layers and undo layers, and you can pick up a bit here and there and transform it, and you don't have to worry about having to paint over things or mixing colors and yada yada yada. But I still like just picking a layer and painting it and not having to deal with a ton of layers. So these animals with food paintings, there's quite a bit of layers in this file, and that's simply because the mantis has a lot of fiddly bits that I didn't want to have to keep painting over with the, shading with the cup and the dessert. So I just put the mantis on its own little layer so I wouldn't have to deal with that. But otherwise, I basically just have a sketch layer, a basic base color layer, and then the painting layer, and that's about it. And if I make a mistake, there's that handy undo button, but if it's further down the line, then I just paint over it like a regular traditional painting. And I like the feeling of that. I like taking advantage of digital fully too, where you have, every little thing on a different layer, clipping masks abound, and all that jazz. But for these, I kind of like it looking painterly and looking a little bit traditional, even though it's digital. So yeah, that's a little bit of art direction there. I think that's about all I have to say. I'll let you watch the rest of the video now. Enjoy! I hope this video has been enlightening for people or helpful in any way. Let me know if you'd like to see more of this from me. I'd like to do more process videos on the animals with food, as well as other illustrations. I do a lot of fantasy and fan art, so I think it would be really fun to do that and talk to you guys in my little awkward voice. I'll have my links in the description. My business name is Burning Bee Illustration, but my username is Toast Zombie. It's a holdover from when I was a teenager. I slowly want to change it from Toast Zombie to Burning Bee, but I have a bunch of business cards that say Toast Zombie on it. So I'm stuck with it until I can get rid of those business cards. Hooray. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and you have a good day. Goodbye. Around the Mantis. My dog decided to bark. That's fun. There he goes. That's Ziggy. Say hello, Ziggy.